Hey everyone, welcome to DC Daily. It's Amy, and today I am delighted to say that joining me is legendary artist Bill Sienkiewicz. Thank you so much for coming by, Bill.
Well, thanks so much for inviting me. It's nice to see everybody in the virtual flesh.
A lot of virtual flesh only, but it's meaning that we can have some really, truly incredible folks join us, so I'm so glad you could be here. First off, how are you doing?
Doing okay, thanks. I mean, hope you're all doing well as well. I tend to be a kind of an isolationist anyway. Although, when I want to get out, I want to get out, and be around people. I think the word is coping, which I think we're all sort of doing.
So since we are lucky enough to be getting a peek into the normal habitat of Bill Sienkiewicz right now, do you have any cool DC art or stuff that you can show off that's at home with you?
What I've got right now is actually, I'm working on the question with Dennis Cowan and Jeff Lemire.
Yes, which we are loving and hoping we can talk a little about.
Because of shipping and everything else, Dennis has been sending me the pages via email. So what I've been doing is I'm so used to working on the boards themselves. But what I've been doing is, and I'll just try to pull out some images here. So like here, for example, what I do is I take Dennis's page, and then what I enlarge it, because it's a different format. It's slightly more of a square format.
Right, the Black Label Deluxe format.
This is half of a page, and I just I sort of number each page so that I can make note of it when I scan it.
Oh my goodness!
So that's Dennis's stuff, and then what I'll do is I will take a piece of animation bond, which is a great surface, and then I proceed to start inking over the top of them.
Oh, look at it! Look what you're doing with the hair! Oh my gosh!
So what I'll do is I'll either finish up the blacks and everything, or I will in terms of putting in the shadows and everything else, or depending on time frame, I will actually scan them in and drop in with the paint bucket in Photoshop. So just a couple more.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and let's see if this. Another Dennis is really nailing the faces here, so I don't know if you can see that.
Just incredible.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and I've got a couple of covers I'm doing for DC, but I don't have any of the goods on that yet.
All right.
Here's one that I actually did actual size. So this is Dennis's pencil page, and then
those pencils are so tight.
I've been, inking it as such here. And again, this is without doing any of that. This is not exactly the most advantageous way to show them off, but
we wouldn't trade it for anything right now. Speaking solely for myself.
You're seeing the proverbial how the sausage is made, kind of a thing. So
the question, the deaths of Vic Sage. What has this experience been like? Partly putting the band back together, partly a new collaborator. What's the overall thing been like for you?
It's, Dennis and I have worked together. We've known each other since forever. I mean, we're puppies when we first met. We shared a studio together back in the late 80s, I think it was. I mean, it's hard to, it's like all a blur. It's been kind of like a revisiting thing. I just talked to Dennis about it, and I went through a little bit of this with Chris Claremont when I just redid sort of a final chapter of the New Mutants, and it's a bit like who I was at that time when I did them, originally. Dennis had gone through a version of that. It's like, what does the question even look like? How would I draw them now? It's like, because you realize, time passes, everybody keeps moving forward. And Dennis and I have such kind of a shorthand in terms of how we work together. So he can just drop in a couple of lines and I'll know what he wants. Other times he'll tighten up something if he really gets into it. And then I just take that and try to run with it even more. But it's a really, I'm loving it, and the response to the series seems to be fantastic. Which is, I'm on the fourth and final issue right now, so it's been, and I really like the format too, the Black Label format. So it's a lot of fun. And again, working with Jeff, I've been a fan of his work forever, and Chris's. So I think it's, as far as a band, the analogy is, it's
a good lineup. Yeah. All right. We are loving it and we can't wait for more. To ask a very cruel question, if you had to choose among your babies, do you have a piece of your DC art that you are most proud of or that means the most to you?
Well, there is one piece I did a number of years ago that was sort of a pivotal image for me. And that was, I think, the cover I did for Batman 400. It was, and I know that goes back a ways.
No, that's a good one.
With the sort of geometric quality of, I was really playing with a lot more of my work has transitioned over the years because I'm doing a lot more portraits now and sort of, finding a different angle. Like a lot of the sort of crazy stuff I was trying, I pull it out occasionally, but I try to sprinkle it around like a little bit more like spices as opposed to dumping a whole, bag of salt into the stew to save it.
So who are your DC artist inspirations? We've got Aparo and Nick Cardy maybe in there. Who else?
Oh, good Lord. I was sort of weaned. My very first experience reading comic books was, I think, The Flash. And I used to go to the barber with my dad. I remember at the barber, seeing a Gil Kane Green Lantern that I read. But one of the first real fan, experience I had was with Carmine Infantino's Flash.
Oh, yes.
The things he would do with these captions with the hands sort of pointing, and it was like, it was this language that was so fascinating to me.
That does actually bring me perfectly to our last question. If you had any message you could give to DC fans watching this right now, what would it be?
Don't give up on the medium of comics, like of DC or comics in general. There's been sort of a lot of talk about the medium losing more and more ground, but they've been predicting. My very first day when I came into comics to show my portfolio to DC, and then DC at the time was not hiring, but the art director loved my stuff, sent me to meet Neil Adams, and Neil Adams called Jim Shooter, and that's when I started doing Moon Knight. But one of the things that Neil said to me on that very first day was, as long as comics last, sort of thing, in the middle of a conversation. So they've been predicting the death of comics since when I began. So there's always this sort of Chicken Little sort of, doomsaying thing about the medium, and I do not agree with that at all. I'd love to see more young readers getting into the medium, falling in love with it the way that I certainly did as a kid, because it transports you everywhere. I mean, you can do anything with the medium, and that's why, it's like, to paraphrase what Charlton Heston said about, trying the gun from his cold dead hands. It's going to be, in my case, it'll be a paintbrush. So I've dabbled in other arenas. I've done stuff for film and animation and plenty of record covers and things like that. But to me, this is the medium of comics is where like my blood runs the hottest,
Well, we're very, very glad and lucky that it does.
So to the fans, it's like, like show your love for the medium, like read, like, and if you're inclined to draw or write, it's like dive in. The water's fine. It's like, and the more the merrier. So, we need you. So
you heard it here, folks. Bill Sienkiewicz says we need you to make your art and put it out there. Thank you so much for joining us today, Bill.
Like it just flashed by. It's so great to see you again. You look marvelous and wonderful, happy. It's like and I thanks for showing me the little figurine there which was, yes.
I was showing it off. Up next, we have a previously recorded studio interview with Natalie Dreyfuss from The Flash, so check it out to see what she has to say about Sue Dearborn.
Hey crew, I'm here with the newest character on The Flash. She plays Sue Dearborn, aka Ralph Dibny's new love interest. Please welcome to the show, Natalie Dreyfuss.
Hello.
Natalie, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So surprise, you're back.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
So the last episode kind of ended a little bit on a cliffhanger, but now we're sort of tying up those loose ends and welcoming you back. So can you talk a little bit about what it's like to be here?
Yeah, this episode is really exciting because we get to see her as this kind of con artist, and she's a little bit like a female James Bond, doing all the kind of things.
No big deal.
And then we sort of peel back the layers more as to who she is, why she's doing what she's doing, and we get to see like little glimpses of that, which is kind of fun in this episode.
Sue is a very well-known character to the fans and as a part of the comics. So what would you say is your take on her?
Yeah, I mean, it was so interesting to get to audition for her because I read it and loved it, which normally when that happens, you're like, well, can't get it. I love it. She's so fun, and the banter is so fun, and I just feel like she is me in so many ways. I mean, she does a little bit more cat burglaring than I do, but she is me in so many ways. And I mean, Eric said that about my audition as well. He was like, she is you. And I was like, I know. I read it and I thought the same thing. So it's fun to play a character that is pretty close to me. Usually it's a big stretch. This feels like there's this element of her that just I inherently understand.
So, and in this episode, you have a scene with Cisco. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, that was so fun. I just am endlessly surprised at how playful this set is. There's a real emphasis on a sense of play and a sense of like freedom to be fun and have comedy involved within the show, and I think you really get a sense of that when you watch the show. It like brings these characters to life, brings these stories to life in a different way when they allow you to like really have fun banter with each other and feel playful within the set, and he's the most playful.
Hartley. Let's talk about Hartley Sawyer.
I know.
Because he is a sweet buddy of mine. Every time somebody from the show comes in, I get to be like, all right, so how is Hartley being nice? Is he behaving? Like, how has it been working with him?
Well, I have known him for a long time. We did a show together in 2010.
Just wild.
So wild.
Yes.
And so walking into the chemistry read, we were both like, oh my God. And it was so fun and it worked really well. And I think that the chemistry was so obvious right away because I just started messing with them. Yeah. I was like, hey, but and they loved that. And they were like, it's so you guys. It just was obviously so meant to be. And we have this long history of friendship already, which is so great. And it was funny. I was like, I know him too.
It's such a small world. Well, it wouldn't be the Arrowverse without some crossovers. So, if you could drop Sue into any of the other shows.
I would say Supergirl.
Yes, up top. Me too.
I am a huge fan of Melissa Benoist.
Please make friends with her for the both of us.
I think we're gonna be buds.
I think you are too.
I just have so much respect for her, and her reputation, is so wonderful of just like what she's like to work with. She is Supergirl.
She really is freaking Supergirl. We love you, Melissa. If you ever want to come on the show, we got a seat for you, girl. Yeah. Anytime, any place.
I love her.
Also, she just directed an episode, which I thought was so cool.
Yeah.
And I've talked to a handful of other of the actors in the Arrowverse who have taken on that opportunity, and so I think that's really awesome.
I know. I have so much respect for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks as though your character is going to be around, maybe back for a little while. So what can you maybe preview or hint at for her now that we know that she's probably going to be around for a little while?
Yeah, I would say that we can expect more and more of those layers.
Yeah.
She's an onion. We're peeling back the layers. Peel. Yeah, we're going to see more and more of her motives and why she's doing what she's doing, because she's doing a lot.
Yeah.
She's scaling buildings, she's done all that kind of stuff, and it's a little bit of a mystery so far as to why. So that's going to start to come out more and more.
I can't wait. Well, we're all super, super excited. And thank you again for dropping by. We're pleased to have you. And for the rest of you out there, be sure to catch The Flash every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on the CW.
That's it for now. Thanks again to Bill Sienkiewicz and Natalie Dreyfuss for joining us today. And if you haven't checked out the DC Daily Weekly podcast, what are you waiting for? You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and SoundCloud. As for us, we'll see you next time. Bye.